You know those moments in marriage when everything feels like it's about to explode? The sink is overflowing with dishes, the kids are screaming. Your partner forgot to pay the bill, again, and you're standing there, wondering how something that started with so much love has turned into a never-ending to-do list sprinkled with frustration. Well, what if I told you there's a secret weapon that can diffuse these moments, strengthen your bond, and even lower your risk of divorce by 67%? According to Harvard research, it's not grand romantic gestures or expensive therapy, it's laughter. Let me paint a picture. Imagine it's 8 p.m. You've just put the kids to bed after a marathon of tantrums, and you're staring at your partner, who's scrolling through their phone, instead of helping with the mountain of laundry. The old you might have snapped, "Really? You're just going to sit there?" But the new you takes a deep breath, picks up a stray sock, and tosses it at their head with a grin. Think fast, laundry bandit. They look up, startled, and then, they laugh. Suddenly, the tension evaporates. The laundry is still there, but the resentment isn't. That's the magic of humor. Harvard researchers followed hundreds of couples for decades and found that the ones who laughed together, genuinely, frequently, even in the middle of arguments, were not just happier, but also more likely to stay married. Why? Because humor acts like a pressure valve. It reminds you that this moment, as stressful as it feels, isn't the end of the world. It's a chapter in a story you're writing together, and someday, you'll probably look back and chuckle at how worked up you got over burnt toast or misplaced keys. But here's the catch, not all humor is created equal. Sarcasm, eye-rolling, or jokes that belittle your partner, those erode trust. The healthiest couples use humor to connect, not to wound. They're the ones who can turn a screaming match about finances into a ridiculous impression of a game show host. Congratulations. You've just won another argument. Tell them what they've won, Bob. And suddenly, both of them are giggling too hard to stay mad. So how do you cultivate this kind of laughter? First, stop taking everything so personally. Most marital fights aren't about the dishes or the bills. They're about feeling unheard or unappreciated. Humor shifts the perspective. Instead of, "You never help me," try, "I'm drafting a petition to the Laundry Olympics Committee. Care to sign?" It's harder to stay angry when you're both picturing yourselves in ridiculous spandex uniforms. Second, create inside jokes. The couples who survived the Harvard study's stress tests weren't the ones with perfect communication. They were the ones who could whisper a silly phrase from their first date during a tense moment and instantly dissolve the anger. Inside jokes are like secret handshakes. They reinforce that you're on the same team. And finally, embrace the absurdity. Marriage is weird. You're two humans who agreed to share a bathroom, finances, and possibly a minivan for the rest of your lives. Of course it's going to get messy. But the couples who thrive are the ones who can look at each other mid-argument, realize they're both wearing mismatched socks and bedhead, and burst out laughing. They've mastered the "we'll laugh about this later" trick, and better yet, they don't wait for later. So tonight, when your partner does that thing that drives you nuts, try this: pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, how could I make this funny? Maybe you'll end up reenacting your fight as dramatic Shakespearean actors. Maybe you'll declare a thumb war to settle the dispute. Or maybe you'll just collapse onto the couch together, exhausted, and laugh at the sheer chaos of it all. Because according to science, that laughter isn't just noise, it's the sound of your marriage growing stronger. Now, let's dive deeper into why this works. Laughter triggers the release of endorphins, those feel-good chemicals that act as natural stress relievers. When you laugh with your partner, your brain associates them with safety and joy, which builds resilience against future conflicts. It's like emotional armor. And here's something fascinating. Couples who laugh together synchronize their heart rates and breathing patterns during shared laughter. Literal heart harmony. But what if you're not naturally funny? No problem. Humor in marriage isn't about stand-up comedy. It's about playfulness. It's the difference between grumbling, "You left the toothpaste cap off again," and solemnly presenting them with a toothpaste cap offender award made from a Post-it. It's not the joke itself, it's the intention behind it. You're saying, "I choose us over this annoyance." Of course, there are times when humor isn't appropriate. Serious betrayals or grief need space and respect. But for the daily irritations that make up 90% of marital stress, laughter is your ally. One study even found that couples who watched a comedy together and laughed resolved conflicts more effectively afterward. Their brains were literally primed for connection. So here's your challenge. This week, inject humor into one tense moment. When your partner sighs dramatically about taking out the trash, drop to your knees and beg, "Please, don't leave me for the garbage truck driver." When you're both scowling over a misplaced phone, declare it a household emergency and conduct a search party with flashlights and walkie-talkies. It might feel silly at first, but that's the point. You're rewiring your relationship from us versus each other to us versus the problem. And remember, the goal isn't to avoid hard conversations, it's to approach them with lightness. A couple who laughed about their budgeting spreadsheet named it the detonator and stuck googly eyes on it. They still had to tackle their finances, but they did it with teamwork instead of dread. In the end, Harvard's data boils down to this: laughter is a language of love. It says, I see the mess, and I choose you anyway. So the next time your marriage feels heavy, ask yourself, what would this look like in a rom-com? Then, play the scene for laughs. Your future, still married self will thank you. Now, let's talk about the science behind why humor is such a powerful glue in relationships. When you laugh, your body undergoes a series of physiological changes that benefit both your individual health and your partnership. Laughter reduces cortisol, the stress hormone that can make conflicts feel life or death. It also increases oxytocin, the bonding hormone that fosters trust and affection. In other words, humor doesn't just mask problems, it chemically prepares you to solve them together. Think about the last time you and your partner laughed until your stomachs hurt. Maybe it was over a mispronounced word, a clumsy dance move, or a meme you both found hysterical. In that moment, you weren't just sharing a joke, you were syncing up emotionally. Researchers call this positive effect reciprocity, where one partner's laughter triggers the others, creating a feedback loop of goodwill. It's like emotional dominoes, once the first laugh falls, the rest follow naturally. But what about when life gets really hard? Illness, job loss, grief, can humor still help? Surprisingly, yes. Studies on couples facing serious illnesses found that those who used humor as a coping mechanism reported higher relationship satisfaction. Not as a way to avoid pain, but as a way to say, even in this, we're still us. A cancer patient and her husband who dubbed his bald head, from stress-induced hair loss, Mr. Clean Mode, found moments of relief in the darkness. Humor doesn't erase suffering, but it can make it bearable. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Not everyone has the same sense of humor. If your partner doesn't crack up at your puns, don't force it. The key is to find what makes both of you smile. Maybe it's recalling a vacation blooper, imitating your pet's grumpy face, or quoting a movie you both love. Shared laughter is about connection, not performance. And here's a pro tip: the more you practice finding the funny, the easier it gets. Start small. Text your partner a ridiculous meme during the day. Leave a sticky note on the mirror with a doodle of yourself as a laundry monster. The goal isn't to be hilarious, it's to keep the tone light. Over time, these micro moments of joy add up, creating a reservoir of goodwill you can draw from during tougher times. One of the most powerful findings from the Harvard study was that humor acts as a buffer against contempt, the most toxic emotion in relationships. Contempt says, you're beneath me. Humor says, we're in this together. When a couple can laugh about their flaws instead of weaponizing them, they're far less likely to reach the point of no return. So, how do you know if your humor is healthy? Ask yourself, does this bring us closer or push us apart? Teasing about your partner's cooking skills because they find it funny? Healthy. Mocking their insecurities? Not so much. The litmus test is your partner's reaction. If they're laughing with you, not forcing a smile, you're on the right track. Let me leave you with this. Marriage isn't a fairy tale, it's a sitcom. There will be plot twists, misunderstandings, and occasional facepalms. But the couples who last are the ones who realize that the best love stories aren't devoid of conflict. They're full of moments where love chose laughter over resentment. So go ahead, be ridiculous. Be playful. Be the couple that laughs in the face of chaos. Your marriage, and your health, will thank you for it. And who knows? Maybe years from now, you'll be sitting on a porch swing, reminiscing about the time you turned a screaming match about toothpaste into a running joke. And just like the Harvard data predicted, you'll laugh about it, together.